WhatsApp calls, Google Hangouts, etc. I think that's a story for all of us for the very longest of time. And it's been always serious. It's always been work related and other things. So this is a pleasant conversation, and I hope it's going to be fun. It's going to be humorous, and it's going to be serious as well because we're going to talk about dream careers. All right, and who better than two some really fantastic people? So thank you so much, Bala and Shripa, for coming on board, and thank you Vinay for organizing this. And to kickstart, Shri, right? You said don't call me the whole name. Shri is the CEO of Crack Verbal. Now to hear who you are, what you are, and what makes you tick.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Very good evening to all of you. Like Vijetha said, delighted to be here and talking to all of you. So, I'll just give you a quick introduction about myself. So, um, I'm a software engineer by background, worked with HP for around a decade, worked with a startup before that. And then, a decade ago, I started, okay, I thought maybe it's time to do something new, get out of my comfort zone. It was also the same time where my co-founder, we were doing workshops, so it was almost like 5 days a week. It was working with HP in a full-time job, and the weekends we were focusing on taking workshops for students who were preparing for GMAT and GRE. And that's how it all started. In fact, first couple of years it was completely working 7 days a week, and slowly there was, there was word of mouth, and people started liking the our model, and that's how Crackable started, right? So that is how we started our entire journey towards entrepreneurship. Nobody in my family is an entrepreneur. So for 6 months, I didn't even tell my parents that I had quit my job because my mom would have got a heart attack. So I didn't even do that. So after 6 months, slowly when things started forming shape, is when we told that okay, now we are doing something on our own. But yeah, it was still for first. In fact, even now after a decade, my mom still calls me and asks, okay, how many students are enrolled? I was like, please get off that right now, right? So that's been our journey. What has been very exciting for us is that we've been able to contribute to people's life and journey. What I learned from this entire process is that it was very important to get out of your comfort zone, right? So I always believe that the moment you stop learning is when moment you be in status quo is when you stop learning, right? So our entire focus in Crackable has been to help students. So we help students prepare for tests like GMAT and GRE. So a lot of you students who are here online, who are engineers or who are looking at a career post their graduation, or even what they want to do after as their dream career. What we try to do is we engage with them right in the beginning. We guide them on what they're supposed to do. It's not only about taking the test, but also about identifying what is very important, and identifying your skills rather. I think that is the most important aspect. You might be good at some things, you might be bad at something, you might fail, you might do great at something. So I think it's all a process. So we help them do that, and ultimately we help them prepare for the test, help them get into the top schools of their choice. And I've been in touch with most of my students over the decade. So all those people who've been VCs and in top companies working with Google or Apple. So it's also a community that we've been able to build. So it's not that we stop our engagement after the test prep, but the focus is to be with you throughout your journey, and some way maybe someday you can also contribute back. So that is the whole ideology that we have at Crackable, and that is what we do. What I want to do over here is to giving my experience, talk about what I can help, or we all can help in some way in your journey. And if we can do even a little bit to help you with this discussion today, I think that will still be worth it. So I think yeah, that's from my side.
Thank you so much, Shri. So some of the takeaways were that you are an entrepreneur who helps people to get awesome careers in some of the top MNCs or corporates all over the world. That's a very interesting. So crack verbal. Why is that?
So there's a story behind this. So when we started, so technically speaking, in all words, we are a coaching institute, right? So we teach people for specific test preps, right? Now, when we started, we realized that there were 80 test prep companies in Bangalore itself who had GMAT and GRE on their board, right? So we wanted to create a difference. We wanted to create, and we realized that there is some USP that we have to provide. We cannot be another career forum or career urban news or career XYZ, right? So that is the whole idea. And we realized that we wanted to start with our forte. At that time, our forte was verbal. Our target audience was students who were great at math, but you know, not great at standardized tests and did not do well in their verbal section. So, and we just wanted to work on our forte to begin with. Now, obviously, after so many years, we are equally good in all the other sections or all the other parts too. But yeah, that was the whole thought process behind naming it crack.
So very interesting. So thank you so much, Shri. And now we shall now ask Mala. I love Mondays. That's so inspiring. So tell us more about that.
Okay, it would have been even more. I think pretty much every other day is like a Sunday currently for all of us. So I don't know whether the loving Mondays actually kind of comes into the picture. Anyways, thank you, Vijetha. So I have a couple of questions for those who are tuned in, right? If you're an engineering student, do you love what you're studying? First question for you to answer for yourself. Okay?
No.
No. Okay, wonderful. All right. Second is, do you think that, before you got into whatever course you're studying, you had a certain idea of what this course is going to be? And after you got in, the idea of what it is was different.
Yes.
You expected what came out in match?
Yeah, it didn't match.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think you might be in your third year, fourth year, whatever year that you're in? Do you think that you're meant for something more, but you haven't really figured that out?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So in 2009, I'm from Bangalore, Karnataka. I was given the Best Engineering Student Award for BTU. Okay, so my name was announced. I walk up onto the stage and I received the award, and I had 100% clarity that I didn't want to work as an engineer. Okay, so I was good at what I did. Somebody even gave me an award to, validate that, but I didn't want to do it. Right? And that's a very difficult choice to make, right? Like normally when you're choosing science, commerce, arts, the smarties are the ones who take up science, and apparently the intellectually dumb ones are supposed to take up arts, and the ones who are in between, who probably do not like math, end up taking up commerce, right? So some kind of jugaad like this system existed when I was making career choices, and I took up engineering, did fantastically well, but I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. 3 years after that, there were a couple of things that I did, and I finally decided that starting an organization that helps young people figure out what is it that they are really good at and how can they map their strengths into their dream careers became my goal. And that's how I Love Mondays was born. Now, can you guess how many people in the world hate their job? What percentage? When I started, someone has something to say. You want to take a guess? What percentage of people hate their job? It's clearly a large percentage.
85 to 90.
Yeah, actually true. So when I started I Love Mondays in 2013, 81% of the people in the world hated their job. And now it is 91. Right? So clearly we're doing something wrong. And one thing that's for sure is career guidance for a very long time was which course and which college. We forgot to ask important questions. What am I good at? What does the world want? And how do I connect the dots? So hopefully during our panel, and we have very, very passionate people on the panel here, we should be able to help you identify what your strengths are, what is real passion, and what are the trends of the future. So back to Vijetha.
Okay, thank you so much, Mala. That was really cool. That was really fun. 91%. So now can you find where the other 9% are? So that's a joke that we had.
We want to increase it from 9. Yes.
No, but you know what? I think what you say makes a lot of sense. some of the important things to do. Connect the dots, follow your passion, figure out what you really like doing, and then find a job that pays you really, really well, or find an entrepreneurial career also. You should not just say job because both of you are fantastic entrepreneurs. Okay, great. So then, how we'll do this is that we will keep this going as a conversation. Okay. So, for example, you said find your passion, connect the dots, find out what you're really good at. You're in college. You have to pass the exams. You better pass your exams. Okay, and you have to do well. You have to sit for your placements because otherwise, look, there is a lot of peer pressure. Your parents have invested in you. You can't just leave them in a lurch and say, I want to follow my passion and not make money. Making money in today's world is extremely important. Let us never, ever, ever take that away from the equation. Okay, so of course, I will not even ask you that what you guys do in your college as the only benchmark because maybe not all of us really thought about this thing. So someone has written a question saying like, how easy is to find yellow collar career opportunities? Please educate me. I do not know what is yellow collar career opportunities.
I knew blue and white. What was yellow?
Okay, great. Super, super. So, blue collar careers are where you exchange like physical labor for money, like your electricians, drivers, construction workers, right? That was an era, and then we went to the knowledge economy, right, which we're just kind of coming out of. So this is where you have your lawyers, your engineers, doctors who would exchange knowledge for money. Okay, so what does the future work look like? That's the yellow collar world, right? Where all of us will be exchanging competence for money. So I love what Vijetha said. Right, passion is not about what I really like it, but I don't care about making money and just kind of diving deep. That's not what passion is, right? So passionate jobs or the passion economy or the yellow collar world is where you can exchange your passion and competence at a particular thing for money, and that's the idea. That's the win-win, right? So
Is it something gig economy and something more evolved?
I love what you said. So gig is one of the trends of the future of work, where I can exchange many passions with different organizations and earn in return. For example, I can work as a cricketing coach on the weekends. I can work in the morning as a YouTuber on the weekdays, and in the evenings I can work as an online math tutor. So exchanging many skills that you have for money is the gig economy. So we're not looking at 9 to 5 jobs anymore, right? And I think we're kind of all experiencing that currently because of the lockdown. Yeah. So that's a trend. Gig economy is a trend.
That's superb, right? So let's come to this, and this is something hopefully come up into both you and Shri, right? Okay, so it's great. Yellow collar job opportunities, gig economy. I have my passion. I need to make money. I want to have a dream career, but how do I build the skills? How do I build the mindset? How do I grow the opportunities? And these are some very specific questions that you got to start preparing for now. And guess what, right? I mean, all of us, I'm probably the oldest guy in this whatever this panel. I got to start thinking about these things as well because some of the skill sets that I have are going to be obsolete. Maybe you can't get into programming and coding right now. So how do you really build your skill sets? And I think it's going to be a journey that you every few years you have to reinvent yourself. So what do you think? I mean, you guys are into career coaching and skill set training, etc., etc. How does one go about it? Whether for a youngster, for a student, what do they do?
Right. So I'd like to add, a small story around over here. Right now, I remember when I just passed out of college, there was this website which said, put in the things that you're really passionate about, right? And what this website used to do is it used to keep reminding. I don't really remember the exact name of the website, but it kept reminding you that Shri, you still have to fill in what you're passionate about, right? And every week it used to send a notification on an email asking me what you have to put in what you're passionate about, right? So what I realized, speaking to so many people every day, it's not really easy to figure out what you're really passionate about, right? Because I know this word is something that is used a lot, but it's very difficult to figure out what you really enjoy doing, right? Unless you keep trying out new things, and that I think is the key. Especially, you guys who are engineers or who are just starting their career or just doing their graduation. What you should do is just try your hands on everything, whatever you believe, whatever comes in your way. Obviously, you have to figure out what you would like to do. Like for example, maybe you would want to try out a sales internship or a marketing internship, or a finance kind of a role, or anything that you believe you might be good at. But keep trying out new things, because I think now you have the flexibility to keep experimenting, and that is a very important aspect. Once you start experimenting is when you will eventually figure out, because if I look at my career, right, I did my graduation in physics, and believe me, I hated it. I don't remember anything out of that, right? I went on to do my masters in computers, and then I did my, I spent a decade in the software industry. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but I don't think I was great at it. But today, if I look back, after so long, I believe I've kind of evolved. I've tried out sales, I've tried out operations, project management, so many different things. And I think now you're at a stage where now you believe that, okay, there are some things I really enjoy doing, because we have tried out, a lot more things. So I think for students right now over here, you really don't need to have a bullseye plan right now. Just go on and experiment on things. I think that is what you should be focusing on. Yes, there is money on a lot of things. There is less money in some areas. There's more money in some careers. But I think if you are really looking at excelling in something, eventually money will come, right? So, but what you have to focus on is what you'd enjoy doing eventually, and for that there is no bullseye plan. You have to keep experimenting on things, so that then you figure out what you're really good at.
How do you find the opportunity? I think the specific question it has come out is you identified your skills and strengths, but how do you find out where are the opportunities, and also what are some of the major threats that are there to the yellow collar carriers or gig economy? Is one set of questions. Okay. The second question, I don't know if you want to answer it or not, but it says very clearly that is it easier to follow my dream goals within India or US? In India, there seems to be more society and parents pressure, but that's India. Okay, so but this specific thing, right? How do you find out? You're in college, you have whatever pressure you have to, crack your exams, study and assignments, whatever. But in all this time, using, of course, today Google knows everything they say, and there's so much of information being made available. There are so many courses available. There's so much of counseling courses, whatever it is. How do you find the opportunities? Is there something light that you can throw it in a Mala or Shri?
Yeah, Shri, can I take that first?
Please.
Yeah. Okay. So I love what Shri said about trying things out, and I think that kind of expands and spills over into also finding out opportunities. For example, there are a zillion social media platforms on which you can connect with people, right? I had written a book called "I Love Mondays." The idea was to interview successful people from various fields. So it was there was A.R. Rahman, Anil Kumble, Santosh Sivan, and all these guys to identify what is it that helps them convert their passion into profession. Okay, and we figured that there was a triangle of success, which I think will help this conversation. The first one is key, like Shri and Vijetha had spoken earlier, is to do what you love. Okay, in the triangle of success, the first key is to do what you love. The second is to be really good at it, which will translate into money. Right? I love to sing, but I'm bad at singing. Not a good combination. Right? Okay? And the final dot is to be connected to the right people. Let's take the same. So nobody knows that I exist. I'm not in touch with the right record labels. I'm not in touch with the people in the music industry. So I think it's really about the three elements coming together. Someone even asked, how do I connect the dots? I think this is the connecting the dots. If you're able to answer, what is it that I love to do? Right? Am I great at it? If not, how can I get great at it? And I think lockdown is the best time to upskill ourselves. Right? And finally, who do I need to be connected to not just identify my dream career, but to thrive in it? Right? So that's I think Shri can take it from here.
Yeah, so other way to figure out what you could do is, believe me, right now there are a lot of these upskilling websites that they are giving out free courses online. So, and internships are, people really want good quality interns too. So internships could be something that you could look at. So you could go to any of these internship websites like Internshala or there are few other internship websites. So one thing is what you could do is try and see if you could go to those websites. The other thing is say for example, I remember there's this website called Digital Marketer or something that is giving out free digital marketing courses because of this COVID-19 situation. So really some really good marketing courses if you're looking at that could be something you could look at. Other than that, just there are so many upskilling platforms. I think you should go and just research on that. I think any day spending time on that versus a Netflix would be a better idea. So I think that could be something you guys should definitely explore. So and I personally use LinkedIn Learning a lot. So that is something could be useful. And a lot of these websites are also giving it in their large discounts because of the situation. So I think we should definitely make use of that too.
Yeah, and I think networking is like the number one skill that we can all like learn, irrespective of which field.
That's right. Right.
Okay, fantastic. So there's one more question that has come out, and it's something that both of you should answer, maybe together or separately. They want to know which are the couple of books to read where you can become more self-aware and probably identify your passion. So, is there some books that you recommend that could really help you with that?
Hmm. Can I give a formula that has worked with many, many, many of our students?
Go for it, boss. Go for
I forget the book. Okay, so how do you identify the difference between passion and fascination? Okay, if you're really passionate about something, you will spend time and money on it. Example, a lot of people know that they have to be fit. So we're fascinated about the idea of having a fit body. But the really passionate ones are willing to spend time at the gym, okay, and are willing to spend money to get probably the right nutritionist or gym subscription or whatever, right? So take a step back and ask yourself, naturally today, what are the things that you naturally gravitate towards and you're willing to spend time and money on? Okay, if it's self-development books, right? So there's something there. Maybe you want to improve yourself, you want to help other people improve in who they are. If you're spending a lot of time on Instagram, start looking for patterns. What kind of pages are you following? And read those patterns. There's so much that we can learn from our own behavior if we just look inside to identify who we are. So that could be, I think, a great starting point.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, the kind of books I read is not something I would suggest these days because these are all slightly more talent code type books. But what I would suggest is Audible is a great place. I'm not a very voracious reader, so I prefer Audible than reading. So if you guys want to explore some good books on Audible, that could be something you could look at. Other than that, like Mala said, I think excellent point. See, one thing you have to understand is don't try to deviate from what you are not. Try to fit in into what you can easily do. It's like it should become like an habit, right? So, say for example, if you're not a morning person, you would never get up in the morning. It's not a
Exactly.
sustainable habit, right? So, you might want to pick up something which you can fit into your schedule and rather than carve out a different schedule for yourself, right? So I think that is what you should do if you're looking. So if you're a person who gets up at 10 o'clock, it's okay, just get up at 10 o'clock, don't change things, right? You have the whole day to yourself anyways, right? So try to see if YouTube has great content now. Maybe you want to watch something excellent on YouTube or some TEDx or some podcast or something like that, right? So I think pick up things that you really enjoy doing. There is no prescriptive way. Everybody has their own way of learning. I think, yeah, I think just try to put things into your normal schedule, and that I believe is more sustainable rather than anything else. Also, try to. There's one more thing that I've learned, and this is something which I believe piggyback on something that you like to do. Like for example, if you say that I don't like exercising, so but I like so try to do one thing. Try to listen to podcasts and exercise while you're doing podcasts. So try to kind of match it with another activity or piggyback it on an activity that you like doing. And believe me, that it really works. So it could be something like that because I know online courses can be boring, But if you really want to push yourself to learn something new, I think it could be a great idea to piggyback it on something you enjoy doing.
I think this is some phenomenal stuff, right? Very quickly, I would like to now ask you, ladies, a couple of questions. See, when you were growing up, whether in college or you have started your careers, etc., who were the mentors? Maybe I mean, that word mentoring might not have been there 10 years back or whatever it is, but someone guided you, someone who took some time out from their own busy schedules to give you inputs, to give you a helping hand, point in the right direction. They help you to learn some skills. So how does that happen? And this concept of being forward and helping people out, how has that worked in your life, and what do you want to say about
Shri, you can go first.
So yeah, I think at every phase of life there's someone or something you have to learn. It could be it could be a movie dialogue, right? That has some learning, right? So it can be anything. So I think every phase has someone. So say for example in a college, I had a professor who was did multiple things rather than he was someone who wrote in newspapers. He came and taught physics. At the same time, he was a social activist and a lot of other things. So there's so much to learn from that person at work. My boss was someone who was a multitasker. Did so many things. Apart from being a great boss, was also a great mom or a great homemaker, doing things at home and things like that. I'm also pursuing passion. So I think there's something you learn from them. So and also the people I meet, right? Like for example, today's session, meeting you guys is something that I am also learning, from, right? So I think you just have to expose yourself to all these things, attend these kind of sessions and seminars and webinars. I think there is learning from everywhere. So I would not restrict myself to any one person. I think so many people you meet is a learning experience, has been a learning experience for me.
that's so beautiful. In fact, they say that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So they say
Yeah.
that too. That's a nice one, isn't it? That's a nice one. That's so awesome. Yeah, and you also mentioned on networking. That networking is so important. Sorry, Mala, you would like to say something about?
Actually, I think Sri said it beautifully, right? So I'm not going to repeat. Though I would like to ask for the viewers to answer these two questions. What are the three things, just three things they would want to work on in 2020 for themselves? Okay, either now or after this session, this webinar, maybe just write that down. Three things that you want to work on in 2020. That's number one. Number two is identify 2 to 3 ways for every element that you want to work on. For example, if networking is one of your goals 2020, who do you know who is great at networking? It could be some friend in your college who is very good with networking and bringing sponsorship to the college fest. So what can you model from that person, right? So 3 things that you want to work on in 2020 and 3 ways in which you're going to achieve them. I think, and then you'd be probably sorted, hopefully. Yes, Vijetha.
That was a call that came in. Okay, so fantastic. Now a question that has come out is, mentors play a very crucial role, but how do you identify mentors? Is there something that you like to talk about? You find them, they find you. How does it happen?
It's a very good question. Yeah, I think it could be both. It could be both. I mean, it always helps to proactively look and ask for someone to mentor you. I mean, there's no harm in that. And like you said, right, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Yeah, that. But proactively. I like to be in control of my life. So if you're like that, you'd want to proactively look for a mentor based on what you want to work on.
Yeah. I think what is more important is to have a clear idea on what you want out of that mentoring relationship too. Because, you can't go and expect magic. So it's not that nothing is going to transform you through a mentorship kind of an option, right? So you have to go with a clear idea on what direction you are looking at that mentoring for, or also maybe even map, because see, what is very important is I might be great at whatever I'm doing, but I might not be aligned to what you want out of me, right? So I think that aspect is also very important. So if you are looking at a mentor, even try to first figure out that what you want out of that mentoring thing, and also there's nothing wrong in maybe even discussing with the mentor and asking whether that person can contribute or not. And I'm sure people are quite honest about those aspects too. So yeah, in my view, I think it's both ways, like Mala mentioned.
Sure, sure. So see, when your students, your circle of influence, your circle of people that you're talking to are your teachers, your students, your backbencher, people who sit next to you, whatever, your few seniors, siblings, etc. Right? So, is there any challenge in that? And that you may get the wrong advice or the wrong input, and how do you kind of judge for yourself? Like, I mean, that's also very important in today's world. Sometimes you can, I'm just saying, maybe I'm wrong in my perception, but sometimes as students, it doesn't work out too well sometimes. So what do you do? How do you build that maturity? That how do you filter the non-essential part, etc., etc. What are the parameters or some techniques or tools? If that makes sense.
Right. I love this question. Can I please take this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So asking the right person for advice. Okay. First of all, I'm not a big fan of the word advice, but yeah, let's stick to it. When you want to buy an iPhone, okay, and you're researching and you've worked hard for that money, right? Okay. Do you research with people who have a OnePlus or people who have an iPhone? So ask for an iPhone user how their experience of using that iPhone was. But when we have to make critical decisions about should I do an MBA, should I work for this company, do I do an internship, we don't ask credible people for advice. We ask people who are accessible to us for advice. Like our friend who probably has the same kind of knowledge that probably I do, right? I've seen this commonly in terms of entrepreneurship, right? So two people are sitting in college and they're like, you know what, I think I should be an entrepreneur. What do you think? And that bugger has absolutely no idea what entrepreneurship is. Right? And he's like, yeah, you should do it. You know what? I think you should do an MBA. Where is the input coming from? So, okay, ask the right person for advice. Who is this right person? Someone who has been there and done that and preferably thrived at it. Right? So you can't go to a really depressed software engineer and ask him if you should, choose software as a career. Right? So someone who is credible and who is thriving at whatever it is that you want for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think perfect. That's exactly how it has to be. It's all, I think research has to be around, people who have been there, done that, like Malla mentioned, and also get various different perspectives. I think there's no harm in asking people who have even failed. Maybe you get a perspective too. Right, so it's people around you, and more accessible people and people who have been there, done that could be a great idea to reach out for this kind of information.
I think that's beautifully stated. I think mentoring is at the right time, the right time. If you want to learn about sales or marketing, go to someone who really is expert in that rather than going to someone else. I think that's beautiful, and it also makes sense that you have. It's a very nice concept that I've heard, sir, that I read somewhere. That you don't just look at mentors or people around you. A lot of the senior folks, they actually create a virtual mentoring board, in the sense that they even look at, if I had this situation, what would someone like say a Steve Jobs do, or what would a Bill Gates do, or maybe what would some other leader or someone who had faced this similar kind of situation, and how would they react? How would they handle the situation, right? And I think it's also very important when you talk about a dream career. Careers keep changing. So what you are doing today and 5 years from now, it keeps changing, right? So coming to what you guys are doing now and your journey in different places and all that, right? So what are the high points, a few low points, and what you learn from it? That's something that you can share with the audience.
See, you can go first.
Vijetha, if you could just repeat it once.
Repeat it. Yeah, absolutely no problem. Absolutely no problem. Okay. Your careers, you have been working for some time as entrepreneurs. You started somewhere, you had jobs, etc., etc. Right? What are the high points and low points? Keeping in mind, let's say that today, dream career, you're doing very well, you're happy with what you're doing, but you're going to face, situations. You're going to students are going to face, when they first start off or they're taking up internships. It may be at the most reputed companies. but there will be challenges that they face. So how do you mental fortitude, or from your experiences, what are some of the things that you can talk?
Um, so, say for example, if you're taking up an internship, right? So, normally these internships are short-term internships, right? So, uh, in my view, uh, it's really okay to fail. At some point, if you feel there are challenges, maybe you're not able to get it, or you're not able to, you're not able to excel on it. At least you know what not to do. So I think they should not really get demotivated by anything of that sort. The focus should be more on, okay, obviously you have to give your best shot. It's not that you start an internship and the first 1 week you feel you're not able to crack it and you just give it up, right? So obviously you have to put in your best. Only if you feel you have put in your 100% is when you give up, right? If still things don't work. So I think there might be various circumstances. Sometimes internships are not very, I would say flowery, or it can be sometimes it's grunt work in lots of cases. However, I think everything is a learning process. Maybe grunt work is important to get to the next level. Nobody's going to give you a great project in the beginning itself because you don't have experience. So you have to go with that learning mindset. Initially, you have to go with something where you will have to do things which might not enjoy, but eventually maybe the goal is to get into something that is in the same lines. It's important for you to go to take the first stair to go to the 10th one, right? So you might have to. So I think don't go with the mindset that you are open to, um, learn, and it could be a good experience or a bad experience. There will be risks, there will be challenges. So you have to go with that mindset that you should be open to take up those kind of, challenges too. And I think every challenge is going to be a learning experience, right? So yeah, you go with that mindset that you might not be successful too. So it's okay. At least you tried, right? So I think that's my take on these kind of situations for students.
Right.
Mala, please.
So highs and lows, right? And what is the learning from there? I totally was
Correct.
lost
Yeah,
in what
yeah.
Sri was saying.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
But,
Okay, so I'm going to talk about why I was good at engineering, but I didn't take it up. Because I think a lot of you will be able to resonate with it, right? Please understand, I'm not coming from the space of that you all quit engineering tomorrow and, I don't know, go berserk, right? But I had clarity that I was meant for something else, right? And how did I have this clarity? Again, going back to what Sri said earlier, internship. So when I was in my fourth year of engineering, I studied instrumentation, IT. And I was very, very privileged to be one among the two students ever in my college to get an internship with a Japanese company. Okay, so I was so excited. That was my dream company. As a fourth year student, I got to intern with them. And in the 30 days of that internship, I hated every day of it. Okay, and I hated it because that was not me. They were doing fantastic work, but it wasn't meant for me. I couldn't connect emotionally, physically, intellectually to the work that they were doing. Which is when I started asking myself the fundamental question. If there were no job descriptions, if there were no job titles that I was fitting myself into, what are all the things that I would want to do in my life as part of my work? So I made a list. We call this the yellow color list, and I recommend that you do the same. Right? Make a list of all the things that you want to do. Okay? It could also mean things that you don't want to do. For example, I don't want to sit isolated at a desk and work on my computer all day. Fantastic. That's clarity too. Right? Things that you want to do. I want to write and I want my writing to make an impact. I want a work where I get to interact with people almost on a daily basis. I want to stand on stage and I want to connect with people. Right? So whatever it is, I want to draw and make a difference. Right? So make a list of all the things that you want to do at work and see what are the existing careers that are out there that actually match to this. Let me give you a quick example, right? So let's say you're amazingly good with social media, okay, and you also have a business acumen. So you could be a growth hacker for a company. And if you're in Bangalore, like this is like the startup haven, so good luck with that. So I think it's really about coming back to the basics when you're in doubt So ask yourself, what do I really want? And then the teacher will arrive.
Hey, nice, very nice. There's a question that has now come up. Is that in your career there's a company ethics and there's personal ethics. So when you're working somewhere and these kind of conundrums happen, where something that you don't really agree with the way things are being done, how do you handle that?
The way things are being done. If anybody has followed Adulting, the YouTube series, please watch season 2, I think episode 3. There's a fantastic example of how this one of the protagonists works as an architect, I think. And there's a lot of Gen Z millennial bashing that happens and how she kind of combats that. Hopefully that should kind of throw some clarity on it. And Sri answered this, like not to give up, to try your best. Right, Sri?
Right. So I think there might be cases where you don't agree to certain things. If it's absolutely unethical, I think that's not the place you should be. But if it's something which is more a difference in ideology, maybe you would want to put yourself in the other people's shoes and even figure out that, because sometimes what happens is, as a business owner, you have 100 other things that you have to worry about, right? And maybe every decision that you take has been with all those perspectives in mind. So what you think is right or wrong for you, or for something that is a decision taken for the company, could be based on some decision or some situation that the business owner has thought through, or planned around it, right? So if maybe if you believe it's something that is something is against what you wanted to do, or it's against your ideology, or maybe you'd want to just have a discussion, try to rationale it out with the person who's taken that decision, to understand from their perspective. And and if it's unethical, obviously and you shouldn't be there. But if it's something that can be rationalized out, I think it's definitely worth giving it a shot, because it can be right in somebody else's eyes too, right? So you might want to think through that aspect.
Yeah, and giving it many shots, not just one shot. If you really want it badly, you hound that person and get what you want in the right way. Right?
So now talking about the perceptions in dream career, you have been seeing so many things happening all over the world, not just in the last 1 month, in the last few years. So where do you see there are some great opportunities for people to align their passions and skills? It's an open-ended question. Some inputs or thoughts around that?
Did the question mean that what is the best career, or what direction to
What are
have?
the options available now? I mean, the world is changing so much. Okay, so yes, keeping in mind there are skill sets, there are passions, there are interest areas, etc. But where do you think that the world is moving to, and some very new, very interesting career options that are available right now, which you think the students should kind of explore or research more about?
Right. So, when I get this kind of question, I remember this documentary that, I had seen some time back, right? Now, a lot of these roles that have come up today are things that never existed even, a decade ago or even 5 years ago, right? So, I don't think there is a defined role that you have to look at. It's not like you have to become an investment banker, or you have to be an engineer, or you have to be a doctor. Stand-up comedy is a new thing right now, or you can be a YouTuber, they are earning a lot. You can be a TikTok person, they earn a lot. So I think so many roles have been redefined completely. Growth hacker was a role that I never heard of when I was looking for a career option, right? So these are all new terms. So I think anything that is, so technology, obviously, I think there's no end to it. If you are good at technology, if you're good at design, product management, because when you say technology, it doesn't mean always coding, right? It means UI UX, it means copy, it means branding, it means so many different things, right? So there are so many aspects to technology, there are so many aspects to there is supply chain. If you're looking at e-commerce, there is someone thinking and planning out a workflow of why somebody should see suggested products in their cart because they bought something. There is data analytics, which is big right now. So I think there are so many things right now. So I don't think you should stick to anything. Just research on, like I said in the beginning itself, just just read up on stuff that you might be interested in, and try out a few things. You can't be you can't be an expert in everything, right? So you might want to first try out a lot of things and then figure out. So there is no specific domain. It is not like today doctors earn a lot or engineers earn a lot. Obviously, a lot more people earn a lot. So if money is the criteria, I think you can just invent something yourself. I think that will be the biggest new thing.
Yeah, true. I'd like to add three things, Vijetha. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, please, you're the boss.
All right. So, number one is the fact that I think it's time for us to accept, like right here, right now, that we're living in a different world with new rules. So, rules that worked for us till now and that worked for our parents no longer hold good. So, let's accept that. Okay, that's number one. Right. Number two, I commonly get asked this question: what is the scope of an industry? Okay, I'm going to tell you what my mentor told me 10 years ago, which holds good especially today. The scope of any industry does not depend on the industry. It depends on what the individual is willing to bring to the table. The scope of any industry does not depend on the industry. It depends on what the individual is willing to bring to the table. Let's take an example. Okay, you've all seen a wedding card. Yeah, boring, very, kind of wedding card, right? Very heavy, loaded wedding card. So one cartoonist decided that, hey, you know what? I want to bring my skill sets to the table in the wedding industry, and I'm going to make cartoony wedding cards. And the entire industry exploded. Somebody decided they will make cinematic videos for weddings, right? And an entire industry opened up. So it depends on what the individual, that is you, bring to the table. That's my second point. And the third thing is the World Economic Forum constantly puts up skills that one needs to have. Please check out the 2020 skills. There are top 10 skills that every individual needs to have for 2020, and that keeps changing every 3 years. Okay, so I think being able to build on those skills constantly will help you get into any industry. For example, you could be great at engineering and you love music. So you can bring the best of both worlds and become a sound engineer. So industries are overlapping, and I think it's absolutely fantastic that anybody can be anyone you want to be. That's why the future of work is called passion economy. So let's capitalize on that.
I think that's really interesting. So because I think this is what we replied. They were saying what are the skills, what are the topics. So coming very specifically to
We lost you, Vijetha.
coming to the startup ecosystem, right? You're talking about innovation. You're talking about whatever we talk about growth hack and this and that. And I know that both of you are entrepreneurs, but you have also trained students for corporate careers. But some of the skill sets or the mindsets or like one of the things you think very crisply, right? Because we are on 450 now. And what do you think is like I mean, you said that the world has changed. It's not the same as what it was 20 years back, or 1 month back, or 6 months back. Any danger signs that you see also that the students should be aware of to avoid complacency or something? What do you think is that? Some input around that?
Yeah, can I go ahead?
Please do.
Okay. I think one of the trends, again, apart from gig economy for yellow collar careers, is multiple job descriptions. Be it a startup, be it an MNC. Let me take a simple example. So, the new age career is full stack developer. I'm sure you've heard of it. Okay. So, this one new role of a full stack developer is basically a combination of a front end developer, the back end database guy, okay, and the architect, right? So, all these jobs coming together into one role, which is full stack development, okay, which comes back to one of the qualities of a yellow collar worker, which is to be a jack of all trades and a master of at least one. And according to my friends who are specialists in the future of work, master of at least 3 skills, right? So a lot of job descriptions are fusing into one, right? So being able to do it all, whether it's a multinational company or a startup or as a freelancer, it's
Right. I would like to add one more thing here. So, a lot of students who come to us, especially, are people who have, spent a couple of years either in the industry or who are completely freshers like you guys, right, who are just out of college. Now, most important, so what happens is in this whole process of applying for a master's or MBA program, they have to think through what they really want to be in the future. They have to think through their goals and, what is their post master's plan and things. What we normally suggest to them is, so when you're in college, think about all those things that you've done, right? So you've conducted events, you've spoke, you've reached out to people for sponsorships, or you are, heading some kind of a club or a entrepreneurship club or an event club, or hundreds of clubs that you have in colleges, right? Now, sponsorship, you're not selling a product, you're not selling a service, you're selling a concept. There is nothing, it's just brand, right? It's just something you're telling them that, oh, I have 20,000 students, maybe somebody will buy you, right? That is the whole thought process. So the effort that requires to get a sponsorship is, I believe, much higher than selling a product or service, because there is something more tangible to give there, and that is the skill you have, right? So when you what you need to think about all those things you have done in college, and try to map it with some skills that you have gained while you did that. And then, say, like she said, right, make a list of all those things that you have in terms of your skills. It could be negotiation skills, it could be team management skills, it could be leadership skills, it could be just being great at communication, right? Maybe you are very articulate, or you can speak well, or anything of that sort. So make a list of all those things and try to see how you can map it to a career, or a goal, or a role, or a company, or anything which will require these kind of skills, right? So maybe that could be one way to just map to what you want to do eventually to begin with, and then obviously you grow around that and you pick up the right career and things like that. That can be a process, but you might want to think through that, what got you to excel in that particular thing, especially when you were in college. So then you map it to something like that. So that could be one effective way of figuring out what you really want.
Yeah, and quickly, in case you aren't one of those people who has been part of all these activities, well, I think it's time for you to hustle. And using the excuse of my college is not that cool, we don't have fest and all of that. I think if you can't do it in college, like do it outside. There's Rotaract, there's Toastmasters, there's Chai, there's like a billion platforms, right? So it's time to be proactive. That's an important skill. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I should say this, right? Remote interning with time, no problem. I think I love what you're saying, because Toastmasters and all these things are super. You can get so much of learning from TEDx. You can combine with, I think there are 3 or 4 forms of different colleges. They should come together and do something, right? I think that's what is. I think that's beautiful. We have precisely 5 minutes left. Okay, so I will just leave it as a summary pointers for both of you.
Yeah.
Think about the fact that you are here where you are today, but how do you reinvent yourself? What are the skill sets and other things that you want to build for yourself over the next few months? And maybe these kind of things would be of vital importance to a student in the audience. If that makes sense.
So more from a student perspective, or more from a personal perspective?
Personal perspective, and which would give some insight to the student from the student perspective, right? But what are you doing? Because they should learn from this, right? Because it's not about just being where you are and sitting and hoping that you will not get disrupted. Okay, you are in a good space, you're doing well, but you also understand that there could be a lot of things that could come in the way of your natural forces, political forces. We don't know. There are so many things that happen. So how do you prepare yourself, and how do you upgrade your skill sets? And this could help the students also to learn themselves.
Right, right. So I think I think we've discussed this in the beginning of this session itself, which is never stop learning. Today, for example, I'm using this lockdown to learn about. So I'm trying to streamline some processes, because we have to go on. We have to streamline our online products. So I'm reading up on what needs to do in terms of fine tuning operations. I'm also looking at reading up something about technology. Okay, about product design. So I'm reading about instructional design, because that matters to my kind of field a lot. So I'm reading about that. I did not. So everything was based on what we believe a customer wants. So I'm I'm trying to train my own team on those kind of things, on customer segmentation, and because I believe this is also a time where they have time. They can. I tell them that the time you spend on commute, spend on watching this or learning this. So I think that is what I'm trying to do. To upskill myself. I know it's boring to be in the lockdown, but at the same time, I'm also slightly worried that once the lockdown is over, I should not feel that I missed out on so many things I could have done. So I'm just slightly conscious about that fact that I want to make use of this lockdown time too. So I think very important to upskill. I think pick small things if you feel you don't want to pick up a very expensive course and think about when I'm going to complete that. Just pick small things and build on that. I think that's what you should be focusing on right now as students too. And so I think that's what I am focusing on right now. More around team development and picking up a few skills more aligned to my work, because I feel if I'm able to implement that immediately, it's also more like an ROI for myself. So I'm looking at upskilling myself more around that.
Super.
Awesome. Nice one. Mala?
Great. Vijetha. So, three things, okay? Immediately after this panel discussion, this is what you guys are going to do. Number one, you're going to make a list of 10 things that you want to do when you start working, okay? I'm not saying these 10 things have to be done in that 1 year. It can be done over 10 years. 10 things that you want to do when you start working. List number one, okay? The second list is identify 3 skills you want to build in yourself in 2020 and how you are going to build it. This how has to be small activities or habits that you will build every single day, which will lead to your 3 skills that you want to build for 2020. That's the second thing. Okay? And finally, is to identify 5 projects that you will work on in 2020 that is not related to your academics. For example, I'm a computer science student. I'm going to build a website for my uncle who is a filmmaker. Okay, I'm interested in sustainability. So I'm going to install rainwater harvesting in my house. Okay, I'm interested in social work, so I'm going to set up my own charity. I don't know. 5 projects that you will work on in 2020 that will not just build your skills, but it will be proof for you to show that, hey, I can make an impact. I don't need to start working to start making an impact. Yeah? So I'm going to leave you with these 3 things, which hopefully you will do immediately after this.
Fantastic. So that giving it the task, giving the work, and that is very motivating. Fantastic. So it is precisely almost 5 o'clock now. So Vinay, would you like to do some closing remarks? Is there something else that we would like to chat about in the next few minutes? How do you like to do this?
So I'd first like to thank Vijetha and the speakers for taking the time off. Some profound shares. I've actually listed down notes that we'll be sharing with the campus and student community. We'll also be writing a small article, a post after this. And we will also keep the link and the video open. So if people have questions for any of you, we will email it to you and update you on that. And this is something that we feel in a sustained manner, as in when we motivate and encourage the student crowds, it will enable them to take more action. And action is what we need. Thank you again so much. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
And we'll stay connected.
Thank you. Really enjoyed this. Would love to stay in touch with Shri and Mala as well. And have a nice time. Wish you all the very best, everything that you guys are doing. Okay? Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijetha. Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.